Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I'm with a glass of cranberry tonight, trying to get my energy levels back up after a bit of a strange day that I had yesterday. Anyway, I'm feeling a lot better today. I hope you're all feeling well too. You know, January is a funny month, isn't it? Apart from everything seems to go wrong, and then, of course, various things, as you know. Uh, Went wrong. But today, yeah, I'm feeling good. I've had a really nice day today. It's cold though. That's why I've got my big jumper on. I think that makes you feel like horrible, doesn't it? When it's cold. I don't know about you, but I think I just like to hibernate really in the winter. It must be really nice, to just go to sleep when the winter begins and just wake up. And you lost about I don't know, lost about stone over the. So I wake up thinner and be all raring to go in the springtime. So it must be quite nice. Oh, funny thing that I did mean to tell you last night, but last night I just wasn't in a funny mood. But you know how I went to a funeral yesterday, and obviously funerals are sad, but there's always funny things happen, isn't there, at funerals as well? And the brother-in-law of the poor man who had passed away, he used to be a school teacher, and but he's retired now, and he's a magician in his spare time. I mean, it was really quite funny. And I said, a magician? He said, yeah. He said, I could saw you in half. So he actually said that he could saw me in half. So I thought, oh, well, that's better than going on a diet, isn't it? It just get sawed in half and lose weight instantly. But yeah, so I'm quite intrigued with that. I think that might be quite fun actually. I mean, not look really to get sawn in half, obviously, but I could just see myself doing that sort of hey presto, here I am, and etc. But yeah, so that was quite a funny thing that happened yesterday. But do quite like watching magicians and things, it's always a bit of fun, isn't it? So, okay. Oh, so I want to say thank you, first of all. I haven't had my ticker on for a little while. I want to say thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to everyone for subscribing. Thank you to everyone who's liked my videos, watched my videos, not liked my videos. Thank you to all of you that participate in the chat. Thank you to all of you that don't even, but just like to watch from home. Not everybody likes to actually participate in the chat. Some people are a bit shy, a bit nervous. But I want people to know that you can say anything in my chat, as long as it's not disrespectful to anyone, including me. They're more or less, you're safe to say more or less anything. So don't be shy. If you want to say hello, if you want to say something, say hello. Nobody will be horrible to you. Well, I won't let them be horrible to you, but as long as you're not horrible to anyone, of course. So what else did I want to say? So yeah, and a special thanks to those of you who are members. What was it, members? It was members live last night, wasn't it? Oh my god, I've forgotten what day it is again. I'm obviously still not quite back in the swing of things. Yeah, it was the members live last night. Thank you for being members. For all of you, I have a lot of members. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who sent me a Ko-fi, sent me a super, PayPal'd me or emailed me. I get a lot of emails. Don't forget to send your Scottish pictures, photos, because we're having the Burns night on the 25th of January. We're going to have fun that night. And thank you to all of you that have sent in something Scottish so far. So if you've got anything, a photo of anything Scottish, send it in, please, to my email. Oh my god. I went down the wrong way then. Okay, let me turn that off, and I'm going to say hello to people now. Oh, can't turn it off. That's it. Oh gosh, little frog. So let's say hello to everybody. Lots of you here. Thank you so much for being here as well. Oh, God. Oh, Mello was the first today. Mello was first, looking for Chumba. Then Chumba. Hi, Mello. Hi, Chumba. Hi, Desi. Did you have a nice birthday yesterday? Hope you enjoyed it. All back to reality now, isn't it? It's nice when it's your birthday and people spoil you for a bit and then it's all back to normal. Hi, David. Gosh. Hi, Tina. Let me. Hope you've all had a good day. Let me know how your day's been as well. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Exotic Doll. You're all chatting about your days. Hi, Wesley. Hi, Rini. Hi, Amethyst. Hi, Charlie Angel. Isn't it cold? Charlie's in Spain like me, but not quite in the same area. But be even colder where you are, Charlie, because you're in the north, aren't you? It is freezing, and when it's freezing, it's so freezing because we don't have central heating. So, but actually, I'm warming up now. I had about 10 jumpers on earlier. Hi, Rio. You're not working tonight. What day is it? Friday. Yeah. Right now, everybody's saying hello to themselves, to each other. Hi, Amanda Jane. Hi, Maria. Yes, saw me in half, Maria, and then I don't need to go on a diet. David wants him to do that to the missus. Oh no, I'd really, the real reason I'd like to do it is because I like to wear one of those outfits, with all the spangles and everything, because I like dressing up. So that'd be really good. I'll have to have a word with him now. I've met him and I know him. Hi, Heather. Oh, that'd be a good video, wouldn't it, to put on YouTube? Like a magic show with Vicky Marie. It'd be really good. Yeah, I'd really like to dress up like a magician's assistant. Unfortunately, I don't look like most magician's assistants, but I would try my hardest. Oh, Charlie. Well, if they want to mention other channels, they can. But you can mention another channel if you want, but I just won't comment on it at all. I've given up with other channels. Just, doesn't matter whether I mention them or not, I still get into trouble. So I've just given up. Gosh. Gail. Hi, Gail. So by the time I've gone through, as a new person comes in and everybody says hello, and then I get down to the next one, then everybody says hello. Maria. Well, I'll let you know how it goes, Maria. If I do end up being cut in half, I will let you know how it goes. Well, I'll definitely be making a video about it. Charlie had fish and chips. You always have fish and chips, don't you, on a Friday? Really, October is perfect. Yeah, up to Christmas, normally it's pretty much okay. But January and February are pretty, well, say it's cold. It's 9 degrees now. So that's not bad for night time, really, is it? Like I'm saying it's cold because I live here all year round. But to you, it might not seem that cold. And in the daytime today, it was really lovely and sunny. You could have sat on the beach. If you found like a little a spot, in a corner, you definitely could have sunbathed. Someone from another country could have. I couldn't. I would have been sat there with this jumper on. I've done that before when my friends come out. They're sat on the beach with a bikini, and I've like got a big jumper on because my blood's different now. But yeah, October's a good time to come to Spain, really, I think, because you won't want to be here in July and August. It's horrible. Yeah, I think October, as Charlie says, is about September, October, November are pretty good. It seems to be cold, everyone. Oh, that sounds good, Susan. It's not Debbie McGee, it's Vicky Marie. He looks a bit like Paul Daniels, the guy, actually. Oh, dear me. Capricorns, yeah, of course, Capricorn is Desi. You'll be a Capricorn, yeah, the January birthday. Yeah, we still haven't got round to doing a video on horoscopes. I'd like to do that one day. Just so much to talk about, isn't there? So much to talk about. I've never got enough time, and now I'm back doing classes. I've got less time. Hi, Jane JF. Exotic Doll asked if I can take trips to various islands. Yeah, I mean, you can get a plane to, the Canary Islands or whatever, and you can, yeah, the flights are very cheap. I never go though, because the thing is, if I go on holiday, I don't really want to go anywhere else that's hot. Why would I go on holiday to the Canary Islands? Because I live near the beach anyway. I like to go somewhere cold or a city break, or something different, because I mean, I know it's still like a holiday. At the end of the day, when you live here, you're not on the beach every day with a cocktail. You're just working the same as you would be. It's just a nicer environment to work in. You have all the same problems that you would have wherever you live. It's just a nicer place to have those problems, that's all. So yeah, you literally could get on a plane and be in the Canary Islands, less. I think you'd literally just take off and then you'd be landing. And you can get a boat, a ship, a ferry to Morocco from not far away from where I am, things like that. So but yeah, when I first came to Spain, I travelled a lot around Spain, but not really, in the first sort of 10 years that I was here, I visited nearly every part of Spain, but now I don't really travel. But hi, Phyllis. You like the lipstick colour amethyst? Yeah, this colour, last time when I was in the UK, my sister had this colour, and I took a photo of it because I really liked it so much. Anyway, I finally got around to ordering it off Amazon, and yeah, I love it. I love the colour. It's something berry. Now I feel like I might have missed people coming in. I said hello to Phyllis, didn't I? Hi, Phyllis. Charlie's got his woolly jumper on. I'm in the south, Mello. I'm in the south. What the hell's that, David, that you're saying? Hamail Dame. I don't even know. Where's that? Don't even know that. It'd be a jokey thing, but I don't know what it means. Hi, Tracy. Gail's going to Tenerife in February. Well, Tenerife, the Canary Islands are the warmest, aren't they? But they can get windy. I've been to Lanzarote in February and it's beautiful, but it's very windy, that's all. So you're looking, well, really, you should go to Benidorm. If you really, Benidorm gets a lot of bad press, but if you stay away from, if you go off season, if you go in July and August, it's I don't know how to explain Benidorm. It's a nice, but it's good for the kids because you get the all-inclusive hotels and they have kids clubs and things like that. So it's a good place to go. Yeah, you have it's perfect really, because they'll be in the kids club or around the pool and that, and the hotels are a good price. You just have to keep away. The nightlife can be a bit crazy in Benidorm, that's all. depending on where you go, but you can stay away from it. And I would definitely recommend, if you go to Benidorm, to go to the old town, not the new town, because that's full of the Brits. If you go to the old town, that's where the Spanish people go, and they love kids and make a big fuss of kids, and it's not as wild, you know, as the British sort of side of things. Gosh, oh, you're all chatting. Hi, Kelly. The north of Spain is beautiful. Really, really is beautiful, but it's cold. God, it'd be freezing there now. Well, I love Scotland, David. I think Scotland's probably one of the most beautiful places that I've ever visited, to be honest. So I do love Scotland. But of course, it's cold. That's the only thing, but I don't mind that. Do you know La Metilla de Mar? Do you know where that is, Mella? What province it's in? It doesn't sound. I can't say I do. Charlie might know it, but I don't. It doesn't sound familiar. Yeah, definitely go to the old town. If you go to Benidorm, depending on what you want. I mean, if what you want is like all the nightlife and everything, I mean, there's good things even about that side of Benidorm. You know, is they have good tribute acts on and things. I was thinking, and there's, you know, it's a nice place for a couple of nights, but I've had enough then of it. I can't bear all the, you know, uh, all the Brits, but they're not only Brits, but you know, it is a bit like wild. And you know, I don't want that now. I mean, you know, having said that, if you go in the off season, it's not like that. I went to Benidorm very reluctantly the first time, so I was thinking, oh God, this is just going to be like Manchester on a Saturday night, you know. And I've done all that when I was young, but actually off season it isn't what you think, and it is a beautiful beaches there, and it's a very clean place. You know, I don't know what I was expecting really with Benidorm. But it's not what you think, and the hotels are lovely, they're very cheap, you know, but don't go there thinking you're going to speak Spanish, because nobody speaks Spanish in Benidorm. Oh, I've never been to Italy. I'd like to go to Italy, but I know what will happen if I go to Italy. It's the same as when I go to Britain. You get spoiled in Spain because everything's so reasonable. So, you know, when you go out and eat out, or, you know, I know from what people have told me, if I went to Italy, I'd be going, how much? How much? And this is what I do in Britain, and I drive people mad, but I just can't help it. Ah, no, I'm not near Barcelona. Charlie's up that way, I think more. The Barcelona's in the north. I'm in the south, so I'm more near to like Gibraltar and Malaga and those sort of places. Yeah, the beach in Benidorm is beautiful, and it just goes on forever. It really is nice. La Pineda. Do you know what province it gets? I don't know that. It sounds familiar, that. La Pineda. I don't, but I just can't think where it is. Tarragona. Yeah, no, I don't live near Tarragona. Yes, I'd like. I've never been to America, Heather. I'd like to go to Las Vegas. Oh, there you go. We got quite carried away there talking about different holidays and that. I think the most beautiful place that I've ever been to, in my opinion, is Scotland. You know, I just remember when the plane was coming down, and the greenery. Because for me, living here, the greenery, I just thought it was so beautiful, all of it. I like the north of Spain. I haven't been to that many places. The trouble is, when you come to live somewhere like Spain, in fact, since I came to live in Spain, the only places abroad that I've been to, I've been the UK, Scotland, and Portugal. I haven't been anywhere else. You get sort of a bit spoiled. Camares. Camares sounds familiar. Again, you'd have to tell me what province it is. Yeah, Area 51. Yeah, you went there, didn't you, Heather? Right, well, Catalonia, that's again the other side of Spain from me. The Basque country is beautiful in Spain. The north of Spain is beautiful as well. So they might like somewhere like Rini. They might like somewhere like Bilbao, or some of the places up in the north, but they'll be cold. It depends which time of year you go, because they're cold this time of year. The north of Spain is really cold. So Edinburgh, I've been to Edinburgh, Tracy, and it was lovely, but it was very expensive. That's the only thing I would say. Good job I wasn't paying. I was just going round. How much? How much? What for a whiskey? Where's the whiskey in that glass? Oh my God! You get so spoilt living in Spain, and then you sort of go everywhere else, and you just moan about everything. Okay. And Wales. Of course, I haven't been to Wales for a long time. I have been to Wales years ago. I've forgotten that, but that's before I came to Spain. Well, Wales is beautiful, isn't it? I mean, it's just such a pretty place, and the greenery, it is beautiful. Tracy, yes, hotels are expensive in Edinburgh. Everything's expensive in Edinburgh. I mean, I'm sure there are cheaper ones if you know where to go. But, Edinburgh is a big tourist place, so everything is expensive. I think it was about £8 or £10 for a whiskey that was just like someone had spat in the bottom of the glass. I mean, there was just nothing there. Everything was expensive in Edinburgh, but as I say, I wasn't paying, so it was all right. Oh, Rio's in North Wales. Yeah, I know you'd love to go to Spain, wouldn't you, Ria? I've told you you've got to work on that. You've got your van, and you need to maybe come over. Isle of Wight is beautiful. I've been there. Yeah. Lake District, that's beautiful as well. But again, it's just the weather, isn't it, really? It's the weather. I mean, for me now, it doesn't have to be hot. I'm quite happy to go to a cold place. Well, not cold exactly, but I wouldn't like to go somewhere freezing cold, but I'm quite happy. I don't want to go on a beach holiday because I can do that here. So I'm not bothered about a beach. Everybody wants to live in Spain. Yeah, Phyllis, I know I would love to come to the US one day. I've never been anywhere in America, and I know there's so many different, time zones and whatever. So there's so many different situations. I personally would like to go to Maine. I've always wanted to go to Maine or Atlanta, or somewhere with forests and woods and things. Yeah, Edinburgh is like London as far as prices is concerned, I think. A Blackpool. Sure, well, Blackpool's got its charm. It's not as bad. One of my nieces, she takes her mum there every year, but it depends again where you go. Blackpool's got its charms, as everything has. Everything and everywhere has, and they've all got their good points and bad points. I've been to Glasgow. I enjoyed that. But it's different when you go as a tourist as to when you live in a place, same as Manchester, or, there's parts of Manchester that are beautiful and there's parts of Manchester that are awful, and you just have to know the right places to go to. Yeah, I like rain. I come from the rainy city, and rain is, I do like rain, but I don't like torrential rain. I like drizzle. I like drizzle a lot, and I miss it. We still haven't had any. Well, we had a couple of hours rain the other night. Literally, I slept through it. It was at night time, so otherwise I would have been out in it just to feel the rain. But anyway. Okay, so I'm going to leave you all chatting because I need to really start talking about this post office scandal. And the more, this is one of those things, you know, like a lot of things, the more you look into it, the more that you see that this is a terrible thing, isn't it, that's happened to these people. You know, now for people who are maybe outside of Britain, and not only for that, for me too, for British people, I want to explain first of all what a sub postmaster is or does, because these people that have been involved in this absolute travesty of justice, they were sub postmasters for the post office. So what happens in Britain is the post offices, now this doesn't happen in Spain, we don't have this in Spain. In Spain you've got one state controlled correos, which is the post office, if you like, and it's a government state control thing. So, you know, people working there, they don't own the franchise like sub postmasters do. Well, say they own it, they don't buy it. I mean, I've had to look this up myself because I didn't know really. I mean, you know that the sub postmasters, I've heard of them, you know, I've been brought up with them, but I never really knew what it meant to be a sub postmaster. And basically, you cannot buy it. You don't buy it. You apply for it. You apply for the sub postmaster thing. So you don't need money to be a sub postmaster. You have to put in an application, and they then decide whether they are going to give you this franchise. It is sort of like a franchise, but like if you had a franchise in Subway or one of those things, you normally have to put some money into it. But with these, you don't have to put any money in it. Anyway, let me read to you first of all, so that we understand what a sub postmaster is. So practically anyone can be one, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to share this with you. Well, I'll read this out first. This is the definition. God, disappeared. Always disappear. Right, now I'm going to share this. So if you want to be a sub postman, and nobody will want to be one now, not after all this scandal, but if you did want to be one, you would go onto this website, the subpostmaster.com, and it tells you how to apply. So subpostmaster.com provides support to those wishing to apply for a post office franchise. Now, the main routes to acquire a post office franchise are to either purchase an existing business, which includes a post office, or move a post office franchise into your existing or new retail premises, and this would replace an existing post office franchise within your community. Or you can apply to operate a new franchise at your existing business premises. So this particular website, it's not the actual post office website. It's a website that helps you get started. So over 7,500 post offices have been converted into new modern branches, with customers benefiting from vastly improved retail experience, including extended opening hours. Now, the thing about post offices in the UK, just so that people know, they've always been a tradition, haven't they? Like every village would have one, every locality would have one. But of course, over, you know, like everything else, they have closed down a lot of offices over the years, you know, because they have to be viable, you know, they have to make a profit. One way or another, whether it, you know, the sub postmaster or mistress, of course, goes into these franchises, and they have to, you know, they're businesses, they have to make a profit. They're not, you know, they're not there to sort of just as a service. They're there as a business, and, you know, they have to make a profit to live. So a lot have been closed down. So these sub-postmaster services, this website service is not affiliated or associated with Post Office Limited. Maybe we should be looking on Post Office Limited better. I don't know. Let's have a look. Well, anyway, let's see how to apply. So if you want to be a postmaster, you can register your interest, receive an application pack from the post office, and then this particular website offers to help you create your franchise application. And the post office, if you're accepted, and you have to be accepted, you're not guaranteed to be accepted. The post office issue you with a contract, they arrange your training, and they arrange your start date. So you're sort of like, you're independent. You're not working for the post office technically. You're an independent franchise, but the post office is supposed to support you in everything because you are like the face of the post office. So it's quite complicated, isn't it, really, when you think about it? Let's see if I can find the post office website, because I'm presuming. Let's see if I can find the actual. Here we go. UK Post Office. That's probably better to be on. Run a post office. So if you want to run your own branch, you would go on the post office website, find all the information. So it's saying taking on a business with the post office is a commitment that requires an investment in both time and money. You need to be self-motivated, sales-focused and innovative with a strong business plan and evidence to support this. God, I bet their applications have gone right down, don't you think? Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a, I always think these things, they're like, I don't know. I don't think I'd want to do it. That's for sure. People have invested money into it, because when I say you can't buy one, you have to put money into it, but you can't just buy it. So just because you've got the money for it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get one. You've got to apply for it. They've got to grant it to you. So you must have to pass some sort of a what's the word that I'm looking for? You must have to pass some sort of a test to actually get awarded one. You don't just get awarded it automatically. So this is what these poor people did. These people that were involved in this scandal. Oh, look, they've got a thing on it there. The Horizon IT scandal. That's what they did. They applied for a franchise. They're all excited. We're going to listen to a few of them talking about, when they took on these sub post offices, and they were really happy that they got a job, invested in a business that they thought was obviously reputable, couldn't go wrong. Everybody needs the post office, don't they, for one thing or another. And a lot of people incorporated their post office with a little shop. They're like, it was like the corner shop and the post office, etc. So a lot of people did that, didn't they? They don't really, they don't seem to say much about the, there's not that much on. They say, they've got this big title, the Horizon IT scandal, but there's not really much on there. So this thing, let's have a look at the message from the chief executive of the post office. And just before I play this, just to let people know who don't know maybe what happened. So they brought in a new computer system, and this computer system was flawed. And it was, but they didn't know it at the time. So many of these subpostmasters, there was money going missing, looked like, from their branches, and they were actually prosecuted for for embezzling money from their post offices. And they were accused of theft, basically. And 4 people actually committed suicide over this. And quite a few others have died before they're getting a chance to actually receive any redress for it, probably because of stress, etc. And it's only really now that 20 years later that it's being talked about, and it's realized that these people, they were innocent, and there were so many people affected, and the post office dealt with them terribly, made them out to be criminals, took them to court. They were given prison sentences for embezzling money, and they all pled their innocence. But the post office went ahead and prosecuted them. And now it's coming out that it was actually the new IT system, the Horizon system that had been put in, that was flawed. It was faulty. It was losing money that hadn't been lost. And these people were having to account for losses that didn't exist. And the post office dealt with it so badly because and imagine it like if you worked in any shop, like just imagine you worked in a branch of Greg's or a branch of McDonald's, and money's going missing. As far as your computer system that deals with the accounts is telling you that money's going missing, and you're getting like people coming and saying to you, oh, you're stealing this money, you're embezzling this money. But then they were saying to them that it's only you that this is happening to. It didn't come out for ages that it was happening in many post offices across the UK. So there was a pattern, so it was obvious. It wasn't all these different people being deceptive and deceitful. It was the system itself that was wrong. And it's now, after 20 years, that the government is only just starting to admit responsibility, or admit the post office's responsibility, and offer, they call it compensation, but what the victims are saying, this is not compensation, this is our money, because they had to often make up the shortfall, or pay back money, or try and organize the figure. They were terrified that they were going to be arrested or prosecuted, so they put their own money in to try and make the systems balance, make the figures balance. So it's a terrible thing. And that now, it's only now in an election year, funny that, isn't it? Because there's an election this year, so suddenly the government is taking an interest. Also, there's been a drama, a TV drama that's been very popular. There's been various, I think Netflix has a drama on it as well. So, it's been brought to the public's attention. So it's only because the public, are now sort of knowing about it, and there's an outcry about it. For 20 years, the government weren't interested in listening, to anybody talking about it. So let's just have a look what this is the chief executive of the post office.
Since joining Post Office in September 2019, my commitment to address the consequences of the Horizon scandal for victims has been unwavering. As Chief Executive, I have met many of the victims and heard firsthand their personal stories. Today, I reiterate and extend an apology on behalf of Post Office to all those affected. It's imperative we listen and acknowledge these stories, understanding the profound impact the scandal has had on lives. The ITV drama, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, features some of the deeply personal and moving accounts of postmasters and their families, highlighting again the human aspect of this scandal. The statutory inquiry, led by Sir Win Williams, is ensuring every aspect of this scandal is thoroughly examined. I share the inquiry's intent to establish what went wrong and why, so that such events can never happen again. Our efforts to rectify the wrongs of the past include paying full and fair compensation supported by our shareholder, the UK government. We hope that the ITV drama will raise further awareness and encourage anyone affected who has not yet come forward to seek the redress and compensation they deserve. We also urge anyone who believes they were wrongly convicted in a post office prosecution to pursue an appeal. Details of where to receive further assistance are available at these websites. Thank you for listening.
So yeah, so actually 4 of these people committed suicide, of these poor people. Now, let me just read out what it says on Wikipedia of the actual figures. So now there's more to this, because this Horizon accounting system, it was developed by a company owned by Fujitsu, and this is causing a scandal now, because one of the guys that was CEO of Fujitsu at the time is the husband of a Conservative minister. You know, they're all like, it's all this, you know, all giving jobs to the boys, isn't it? That's what they do, you know. Anyway, in 1999, the post office started to roll out this new software to its branches. And these sub-postmasters were self-employed under contracts with franchises, basically. Now, nearly almost immediately, they noticed shortfalls in their systems. And sometimes it was thousands of pounds. You'll see some people in a moment talking that was £100,000 disappeared. I mean, for goodness sake, did they, you know, there's probably a little bit of, if you were going to embezzle money, let's face it, you wouldn't just take £100,000 just like that, would you? You know, you've got to be a bit sensible here. I mean, nobody's that thick, surely. You know, if they were taking, I don't know, a little bit here and a little bit there. But who's going to take £100,000 and then think that they're going to get away with it? You know, like, it's just obvious to me. You know, if they were that desperate for money, and then they would take a little bit at a time, surely they wouldn't just take one huge amount, because that obviously would create a tension, you know, that a tension that maybe £100 wouldn't, or whatever. You know, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, but the post office themselves would not accept what these people were saying. And as I say, they were saying to these people, they were going in and doing audits and saying to them, oh, no, nobody else is having this problem. It must be you, because nobody else is having the same problem. But it turned out, actually, there were loads of people having the same problem. So there were court cases, there were criminal convictions, there was imprisonment, there was a loss of livelihood and homes, debt and bankruptcy. You can imagine what it just caused. You know, when people put their money into a system like that, you know, into a franchise, it's normally their whole life savings, or, you know, that's what they're thinking is what they're going to be living off for the rest of their working life. So there's at least 4 suicides anyway resulted from this. And, you know, I'm not sure why it's saying at least. Maybe there were some other deaths that were unexplained. Anyway, the story, it was 10 years before the story was broken. 10 years. Computer Weekly broke the story about the problems with the Horizon software. And then in September 2009, Alan Bates, a sub-postmaster, he set up the Justice for Sub-Postmasters Alliance. And that's where it all started to come into more public knowledge. So in 2012, which, bearing in mind, that's another 3 years later, as a result of pressure from campaigners and members of parliament, the Post Office appointed forensic accountant's second sight to conduct an investigation into the Horizon software. And they concluded that the Horizon contained faults that could result in accounting discrepancies. But the post office insisted there were no system-wide problems with the software, so they still would not admit it. Anyway, finally, in 2019, so yeah, that is 20 years later, isn't it, from when it all first, it was 1999 when it all first started, a group of 555 sub-postmasters led by Bates won a group action brought in court against the post office, and the judge ruled that Horizon contained bugs, errors, and defects. And the post office then agreed to settle out of court for £58 million. However, the sub-postmasters' legal costs were £47 million, so they were only left with £20,000 each. However, the government then later agreed to supplement the settlement as they were excluded from the compensation scheme set up by the post office for the victims of the scandal. Anyway, I'm going to show you a video in a minute showing you what the government have said they're going to do. So, yeah, the drama helped, etc. The problems of the problems with the software, at the end of the day, they were not identified soon enough, were they? Okay, so what I'm going to show you now, this is one man's experience. And this man nearly committed suicide. He wanted to. Let's have a look. I'm going to need to put some windows down. And then I can find it easier. Sorry, nearly there. I got that many windows open for various things. So if I shut down, right, okay, there you go. I can find it easier now. So let's hear this guy's story. And this is a guy from Scotland telling his story.
All up to go and commit suicide. I come back and I told my wife it's finished. I said, I can't live with this. I said,
scarred by a scandal, crimes he did not commit.
I was going about ashamed and couldn't look at people, couldn't speak to people, and basically kept myself in the four walls.
Rab has been living a grim existence after being convicted for shortfalls in the faulty Horizon system during his time running the local post office.
It kept going up and up to 10,000, 15,000, up to 60,000 eventually. It come the day that they were, I was to find out what was going to happen to me. 2 minutes before I was due to go in and see the judge, my lawyer turned around and said to me, just plead guilty. And I said, no. I said, I don't plead guilty. I said, I've not done nothing wrong. I said, I've told you this for day one. I know, he said, but it'll be easier for you and your family.
Rab was one of around 100 people given a criminal record here in Scotland, and so far only 4 have had their convictions overturned. The difference here is that unlike in England and Wales, where the post office was acting as a private prosecutor, here it's the public prosecution service in Scotland who were pursuing cases. And it's emerged that it first became aware of issues with Horizon in 2013, but it didn't stop chasing cases until 2015.
During that time, here was Louise in her post office near Glasgow. It was 2014. She was hit with demands to make up a £44,000 loss. She was never convicted and believes it was down to authorities knowing the system was flawed.
It's disgusting. At that time as well, we sold our car. We're just, as I say, we're lucky. We've got the family that we have that supported us, and My husband and I have just battled through all of it.
That hard-fought battle continues for Rab. Despite a government commitment, all convictions will be quashed. Tomorrow, his case is being heard in court.
Because the pressure is really mounting on me now, especially with the government coming out and saying they're going to look into it and overturn them, but I've still got to go to court until we get an answer to say everything's abolished, everything's overturned. I've got to live with it. I'm still under that pressure.
Conor Gillis, Sky News in Clackmannanshire.
Yeah, so that's what he was saying is a common thing that you'll see with the interviews, that we see a few victims being interviewed. The shame, the shame that they lived with. So you imagine that not only you're innocent, but everybody thinks you're guilty. So everybody thinks you've taken all this money and thinking, oh, you're doing really well. You've embezzled all that money. You've taken all that money, etc. And that is just the shame of it, because if just the fact that you've got you're a submaster in a post office, it'll probably be a small community that you're living in. One of the victims tells about this is an Indian guy, and you can imagine in the Indian community, his father wouldn't speak to him, because his father thought he had, disgraced the family. It was like an honor thing. There's so many different facets of, apart from actually going to prison and losing all that money, but then there's the shame of it. And, you can't even operate in your own little community. Anyway, let's have a look at what Sunak had to say about it. Slippery, snaky Sunak, my favourite man. Let's see, where is he? Right, so Sunak now has announced a blanket exoneration for these people. Now, why has it taken so long? But anyway, well, it's election year, that's why.
Welcome to the central lobby of the Houses of Parliament. The new law will wipe out the convictions of hundreds of sub-postmasters who were wrongly convicted of stealing from the post office. Rishi Sunak told MPs that the scandal caused by the faulty Horizon IT system is one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in the nation's history. The government acknowledged it is controversial to use Parliament to override the verdicts of courts in England and Wales, but said it was necessary because it was taking far too long to resolve cases individually. Here's our political editor, Gary Gibbon.
They were convicted by the courts, but will be cleared en masse by MPs. The principle of justice through the courts suspended because the sub-postmasters have been through too much already.
I was served 1.5 years sitting in the prison, counting the bars. So I know how I felt. But nobody can put that 1.5 years back into my life. And those periods, my children, my wife, and everybody suffered because of I was incarcerated.
Senapati Narendran says the post office told him he must confess to stealing £275,000 or his wife could also go to prison.
It's too little too late after so many years, but hope they will stand it and clear our name as soon as possible, because it's been hanging on for quite a long time. It's nearly 2 decades now.
The government said under the proposed new law, sub-postmasters convicted of fraud could be cleared before the end of the year.
Today, I can announce that we will introduce new primary legislation to make sure that those convicted as a result of the Horizon scandal are swiftly exonerated and compensated.
The fancy new computer system that they've spent an arm and a leg on is faulty.
The reaction to ITV's drama series has triggered blanket exonerations without precedent. Alongside that, the government announced minimum compensation, £600,000 for those convicted, £75,000 for those that took the post office to court.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The government minister acknowledged this approach might mean a few guilty people benefit.
I cannot tell the House that all those prosecuted were indeed innocent, or even that it was 90% or 80 or 70. Without retrying every case, we cannot know.
Historical convictions for homosexual offences were quashed by Parliament several years ago, but a blanket acquittal for current offences is without precedent.
The risk is it is Parliament taking over from the courts the resolution of judicial matters. And if, for example, Parliament were to decide to do the same thing with their former colleagues who were sentenced to imprisonment for the expenses scandal, would be a public outcry, because the rule of law in this country would effectively be seen to have come to an end.
You feel whenever a legal process is being overturned, there should be another legal process. Anything else leaves you queasy.
Yes, it does.
The sub-postmaster is personally responsible.
The government plan spares victims of the post office scandal the strain of going into a courtroom again, though there could be an assessment process if they want compensation above the basic offer.
If you've been fighting for many, many years and you're worn through, or you've died, or you've just not been able to carry through, you become ill, you become mentally incapable of carrying on, then of course you're going to be forced or coerced into taking a lightweight settlement, which is, as I say, it's probably not going to touch a fraction of the losses which these people have undertaken.
Probably they want to win the next election. That's why he's doing. I don't know what is behind this all. But at least if they can do something, it's better for the rest of the postmasters who is alive at the moment. Because 35 or 40 people already been dead and buried without their conviction being quashed. So it's so sad.
One MP said talks with ministers suggested there was a lot of work still to be done on the plans and not much under the bonnet. Number 10 promised the new law would be passed before the end of the year.
Well, as we've just heard, the decision to quash all Horizon scandal convictions is unprecedented. So when I spoke to the Post Office Minister, Kevin Hollinrake, a short time ago, I asked him why his team has decided to take this route to solving the problem.
Well, the first thing to say is we're keen for as many people affected by the Post Office Horizon scandal to get compensation as quickly as possible and to clear their names. The option we chose, which we think is the best option to do those things rapidly, is to do a single piece of legislation to overturn all convictions that relate to the Post Office Horizon scandal. It is a very significant step because it does mean we are potentially interfering with the judicial process.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, you are interfering with justice, aren't you? Which is supposed to be independent. I mean, does that worry you? I mean, of course, not because this case is controversial, but because it's a very dangerous precedent, isn't it, for Parliament to just set aside?
Sure. It is something we wouldn't do lightly, it's fair to say, and pretty unprecedented. But I think the scale of the problem, the depth of the problem, says the impact on people's lives. People, even the legal fraternity, can see why we need to do this. I do think it's the right thing.
I mean, you've been dealing with this intensively for a few weeks now. Are you, frankly appalled at how this has been handled by your predecessors, whoever they are, and from different parties?
Well, to be clear, I've been dealing with this for years because on the backbenches we were talking about these issues. I think there's lots of good work been done, and by my predecessors, my immediate predecessors, Paul Scully. For the last 15 months I've been in post. It's been my number one priority through all that time.
But why did you do this and not him, is the point, I suppose?
Well,
it's because of the election, isn't it?
Not at all. There are things you learn. There's a learning experience here, and lots of things we expected to happen. For example, overturning the convictions. When the first convictions were overturned, we thought many other people would come forward straight away. We were surprised that hadn't happened, and even some people coming forward hadn't had their convictions overturned. Late last year, we started looking at what we might do to mean that it's easier to overturn convictions. Yeah. I'm not saying the dramatisation, which is so powerful, didn't play a part. Of course it did, because whatever people think, politicians react to the public pressure and public outrage. And we're outraged, as well as the public, about this. And many people, it really resonated with people. So it gave us a bit of a platform to push this forward more quickly.
So the mass overturning of the convictions, that only came about because of that ITV drama, didn't it? In truth.
No, that's not true. It's something we're looking at over the last few months, even before the drama was aired. So that's not true. The other thing we want to do, we want people to come forward. There's been a nervousness around some of the victims to come forward because they don't want to relive it. We want those people to come forward. We want them to know it'll be the convictions will be overturned without them having to do anything, and the process for getting compensation is much swifter now. People with an overturned convictions can take one of two routes. They can go a full assessment route, which is quite intensive process, and it is quite complex, or they can take a fixed sum, and there's no requirement to compile a claim, of £600,000.
And do you think those numbers, the £600,000 and also the £75,000 up front that you're offering people, is enough? I mean, how have you come to that number? You know, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, £600,000, but if you've been ruined, if you've lost your pension, if you've lost your home, if your life has been ruined, if you've been to prison, you know, is that what your life is worth?
No, not at all. So people think their claims are worth more than that, then they can go through the full assessment process. We're just saying it's, for some people, they think that it's a better route. Some people have died waiting for compensation. We don't want that to happen. We want to get this compensation out the door as quickly as possible.
Does it make you think there are probably other scandals, perhaps not quite as big, but there might be other things that why people are sitting at home going, well, what about me?
I think one of the lessons to learn from this is we have a system where anybody can take forward a private prosecution, a private criminal prosecution, and that's the device by which the Post Office used to prosecute these cases. The Lord Chancellor, the Justice Secretary, is looking at that, whether that's a right we should have across our economy, or whether that right should come with conditions or not be there at all.
And so what do you say to Dominic Grieve, who has got concerns, and others, who say, look, you know, what's to stop politicians one day down the road changing the law to change convictions, or to, you know, to do it the other way around?
Well, it's right to say this is an exceptional measure, not one that I've ever known as utilised before, but it's also exceptional circumstances. Everybody can see that. We're very keen to make it clear why we're using it in this particular case, or these cases. So I understand.
I'm going to fast forward because he's getting on my nerves.
Thank you for waiting. Hello, how can I help?
Oh, hi. It's Jo Hamilton here from South Warnborough. I'm trying to produce this week's cash account.
And what's the problem?
I know it's probably me because I'm really rubbish with technology, but I've declared my cash, I've declared my stock, I've done it all 3 times, and I still can't get it to balance.
And the real Jo Hamilton joins us live now. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Jo. How do you feel about this new settlement by the government?
Well, I'd like to see the detail of it really before I comment. I mean, I guess it's good news that it speeds things up, because ours personally took a long time. But the travesty of all of this is that the group that actually took the Post Office on, as you'll see in the drama, my story started some 20 years ago. We have been battling since then to get this taken on board. We formed a group litigation in 2015, and 9 years on, the group that actually enabled all of this to happen have not been properly compensated. And I think it's a travesty that they haven't been sorted out by now. You know, they've offered 75,000, but personally, the Post Office actually robbed me of £60,000. And I know there are people in the group that gave them an awful lot more than that. So £75,000 doesn't touch the sides.
And the impact on your life of having to deal with that £60,000 shortfall and the prosecution, I mean, how do you put a value on that?
Well, I know I've been through the...
Sorry, I just had to go and get some more cranberry juice then. So this is one of the real victims speaking now, and then they showed her in the in the programme, in the in the TV show that's been made about it, but she is the actual victim. And can I just say, how annoying are these new, so just totally changing the subject. Have you noticed, do you get these now in the UK? So these little sort of screw on tops, they've now done them with a little bit of plastic, holding it together. It drives me absolutely bonkers. You can't, do you know, and have you noticed that about things these days? The plastic is so hard and tough, you can't even just pull it off. You've actually got to cut it off. Just a little rant there. They do my head in, these things. Anyway, sorry, let's hear what she's got to say.
I'm in the compensation process, and I've been taken out of the group that was the original 555, and I've been enabled to go through the criminal compensation pot, which is like the overturned conviction scheme, because there's so many schemes. But the group themselves need proper financial redress, not £75,000. You know, I just find the whole thing staggering, and I'm so angry because the group are literally dying. People's mental health is absolutely shot to bits. Every time you think, oh, there's an announcement, you know, you think they might have some kind of sympathy with us. I mean, how much does it take? Thank goodness we've had the drama and it's brought it to the fore, but really, they should hang their heads in shame.
I mean, £75,000 is a start, but as the minister admitted, the process is complicated for.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, this poor woman, so like now it's coming out because of the TV drama and that, but they've been banging their heads against a brick wall for 20 years, practically being accused and whatever. You know, it's only just coming out now. I love the way that everybody agreed with me about these things. I'm glad it's not just me. I don't want that thing on there. I don't want it. And, you know, to be honest, I didn't even want this thing. I liked it when they just had, you know, you just had like the carton and you'd cut off the end of it and then it was easy. Why did they have to? I thought we were cutting down on plastic. Why did they have to put these plastic things on, this plastic thing on in the first place? And now, why have we got to put an even extra piece of plastic on to just make it annoying? And somebody said nail breakers. They are. And then, or, you know, if I tried to do that with my teeth, I'd probably break a tooth. Honest to God, like, oh, I've pulled it off. But do you know what? Normally it takes me ages to get the bloody thing off. Honestly, all packaging is a nightmare these days, isn't it? You need scissors for everything. You can't get in any packaging without a pair of scissors, can you? I just talk it loud while I'm having it's not a rant, this. Just want to say to the ladies out there, or the men, you know, whatever floats your boat, I invested in a Sally Hansen nail varnish today. When I say invest, it felt like investing in it, because normally the nail varnishes I buy, you know, I just get like the cheap ones, you know, because I like to have a lot of different colours and things. And then I saw there was like a booth like with Sally Hansen. That's got a good reputation, is it? So I will let you know how I get on. I thought, I wonder if it, because normally they chip so quickly. Can't believe I'm talking about nail varnish now, going off on a tangent. That's what I do, isn't it? And I thought, so I paid €10 for a nail varnish that normally I would pay about €2.50 or €3 maximum. But I just thought, right, okay, let's see, do you get what you pay for? So I will let you know. I've put this nail varnish on today and I'll let you know how long it lasts for. If it just chips the same as the others do, I won't be buying another one for €10, but just to let you know, and I'll keep you posted.
For everybody seeking compensation. I mean, what you're hearing today is the Prime Minister and ministers saying a lot of good work has been done. They're now doing what needs to be done, that this was exceptional. I mean, do you feel they deserve any credit, or should they still be hanging their heads in shame?
No, the group litigation, we beat them in the High Court in November 2019. It's now 2024. The deadline is August this year, which they've extended to next year now. You know, so how many years do people have to wait for money? It's just wrong. And I think this is only happening because of the drama, and it's an election year. I think the two combined have given us a bit of power at long last.
So it's not over, is the point, is it? I mean, the government are hoping that this announcement tonight draws a line under it and everybody goes, well, that's it, they've solved the problem. What you're saying is they haven't.
No, they haven't solved the problem at all. The group, from the group litigation order, still need proper compensation. And I don't mean just giving them their money back and patting them on the head. I mean proper financial redress for what they've suffered. And they will have more deaths on their hands if they're not careful. And people are literally falling apart. So I'd like them to take that on board, because this is not right.
Jo Hamilton, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you. Kathy.
Thanks, Krish. Well, the Prime Minister has said he will try to help those fighting for justice in Northern Ireland and Scotland. Our Scotland correspondent, Catherine Sampson, has been finding out what life has been like for those wrongly accused north of the border. And she joins us now from Clackmannan.
Yeah, it's like that guy was saying earlier. It's a bit more complicated in Scotland. It's it's slightly different system. Let's see what she's got to say about how it works in Scotland.
Catherine.
Yes, Kathy, look, this scandal is now expected to be affecting up to 100 people in Scotland, many, of course, in more remote and rural communities like this one. Now, there are differences here. In Scotland, the Post Office didn't bring private prosecutions. It was the Crown Office, Scotland's prosecution service. And work to tackle miscarriages of justice is at an earlier stage here. So far in Scotland, there have been only 2 wrongful convictions overturned. 4 people are still battling to try and clear their names. One of those people is Rab Thompson. Now, he was convicted of embezzlement. He's been fighting this now for 2 decades. It's had a horrendous impact on him and his family.
Imagine fighting that for 20 years. That's 2 decades of your life. That spoilt your life, really. And probably the later stages of your life, if you like. So that guy probably wasn't 20 starting off doing it, and then it's 40 when it's finished. He probably maybe was 40 and now he's in his 60s. He's sort of going, a time when your life, you should be sort of quietening down, not getting more and more difficult. Though it does get more and more difficult, but it's like 20 years. That's not like 2 years fighting it. 20 years. I just feel for these people so much. Their lives really have been blighted, and for the government to turn around and finally deal with it. How have they left them hung out to dry for so long? It's awful, isn't it?
And a warning, my interview with him contains some distressing details. You've been to some pretty dark places.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And, well, I did try to commit suicide. I had it all set up. I come home and I said to my wife, I says, I can't keep up with this, Sue. I said, I've had enough. I said, I'm going to finish it. She says, no, you're not. No, you're not. I says, I am, Sue. I says,
Well, this is the guy that was speaking earlier, isn't it? And how awful, that he had to go through that and his family had to go through it. And the other thing I just want to say is these, somebody was saying earlier on there, I think it was Tracy, that their postmaster or is fantastic. These are lifelines for communities. It might be out in a rural place in Scotland or a rural village somewhere. And the sub post office, it's like a little hub, for people to go to and where they can maybe get some shopping, if it's like a little convenience store as well, and sort their post out and do this. And I know the post, at the end of the day, post is not so important now as it used to be because of internet and things like that. But you think about it, when it all started 20 years ago, before internet, or when internet was only just starting up, these post offices were the lifelines, the hubs of communities. And now, so what they would go through once they were starting to be accused, the whole community would know about it. It must have just been dreadful.
Can't keep this. This is everywhere I go. I feel that people were talking about me. I said, there might not be, but it's in my system that there's people talking about me. I says, and I keep hearing names and whatnot. I says, so I'm just going to go.
Oh.
And she just taken me, and she taken me over to Falkirk Hospital, and I got kept in for a night in there, and to obviously check my medication and see if I was okay and that. But there've been 2 or 3 times lately. I'm thinking about it again. Don't get me wrong. I had to phone the doctor this morning to get stronger tablets because it's just all the pressure. Everything's coming to me at the moment. It's coming from all angles. It's moving too quick. Because before, you've seen it occasionally on the telly or a paper or anything, but now as soon as you switch a telly on, a radio on, it's there. It's right in you.
Do you think it's been harder then for people affected by this in Scotland than in England?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Up in Scotland, as I say, we've been the sleeping giants. We've been lying that low for so long, and because obviously what's went down in England and through the programme the other night there, we are starting to waking up. Hopefully in Scotland that we start getting bigger publicity for it, because I have tried to get in touch with other sub-postmasters who's involved, and no one will speak to me. So I don't know if they're waiting to see if they get their name cleared, or they're just no wanting any press publicity. But it would be nice to get to speak to them. Like what happened in the documentary or drama. They all sat around in the wee village hall. Let's tell each other our stories here.
We had that announcement from the Prime Minister today.
Yeah.
I mean, we're waiting to hear what the Scottish Government are going to do. I assume you think they need to follow suit now in Scotland as quickly as possible to do what he's done?
So it would have been nice for up in Scotland to say, right, we will overrule it and give the sub-postmasters their freedom again. But we're still waiting on an answer.
Is this about money and compensation for you?
No. It's for me to get, so I can walk out that door and people, all right, Rab, how's it going today? Instead of people talking about me. Obviously, they're talking about me at the moment because it's on the telly, papers and whatnot. But I would rather go back to the way I used to be. I used to be a bit fun, go happy, lucky chap. Now, I do struggle to talk to people at times.
If you had the First Minister in the room with you tonight, what would you say to him?
Why is it taking so long? Why did you not look into it when the physician admitted that there was a problem with the computer? It's ridiculous that a programme has had to highlight what they've done to our people.
Yeah, because Private Eye and his lot from Private Eye, he's been talking about this for 10 years, but the government's just been ignoring it. I think they're almost waiting for people to just die and then they won't have to pay them money out, or hoping it will go away. And now, of course, because of this TV drama and because it's election year, suddenly it's all like, in the news. But for a long time, it's sort of been in the periphery of the news, hasn't it, before? Like for me, and I take a lot of interest in the news. I watch the news every day. I'm a complete news junkie. And I sort of heard about it, but I didn't know that much about it because it wasn't a big thing in the news. That it was sort of like something that was in the periphery. And now suddenly it's like, good, and it should be. Hopefully it'll sort of, advance it more quickly, these people getting their convictions overturned, etc. And, there may be some people in there that did embezzle money or whatever, but obviously the huge amount of people that were involved in it, and they are admitting now that it was that's it. So if they're admitting that it was and it has been found in court that it was the actual application that was wrong, the Horizon thing, I don't understand what the delay is then. It's been accepted. It was found that that was the case in the courts. It should just be sorted by now. What's the delay?
We've been begging for help, and no one's listening to us.
Well, Rab's case to try and clear his name is due to come to court at the end of this month. Now, in the last few hours, Scotland's First Minister, Humza Yousaf, has confirmed he has written to the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. He says in this unique circumstances, he wants to work with the UK government so Scotland can become part of a UK-wide approach. Now, this could be complicated. It might involve the Scottish Parliament passing a motion which grants consent for Westminster to legislate on a devolved issue. Now, as you heard, Rab believes Scotland is behind on this. He wants to know why. So it's a question that was put to the First Minister earlier.
I don't think that is the case. Of course, the Scottish Criminal Case Review Commission has for a number of years been examining the cases that have been impacted and affected. In fact, proactively written out to, I think, about 80 individuals in Scotland that have been affected Look, I think it's a very fair question from the individual involved here. What I can give him and others assurances of is that when there is a pardon, it will hopefully apply, and certainly I'm willing to work with the UK government to make sure it applies UK-wide.
No timescales, though, for anyone involved in this in Scotland tonight. I think we can expect to hear much more about this issue at First Minister's Questions tomorrow.
Catherine, thanks very much. And
so there you go. So it's different in Scotland. I'd be interested to hear what, I know I've got quite a few people on here that are Scottish. What do you think of the guy? You know, the new, I'm not sure that I think much of him. I know Nicola Sturgeon ended up leaving in disgrace, but I always quite liked her. You know, she's another one that you think, oh yeah, they're good, and they're like, you know, I like the fact that she'd just say things as they were, you know, not mince the words, and then she's turned out to be, you know, whatever. So God, you just think, what is there anybody in public life who is actually, you know, that you can sort of trust or respect or whatever? Because it feels to me that every time I respect anyone or trust them, they turn out to be a right twonk. Anyway, let's have a look at what another, I'm going to turn that one off in a minute, and we're going to have a look at another victim talking. Oh, and this is so sweet because this guy, he's come on Sky News with his little dog for like comfort, you know, for moral support. This guy took over a sub post office from his parents. So let's hear what he's got to say. But this little dog is so sweet. That'd be me. Oh, having said that, I'm saying, no, that'd be me. If I took my dogs on there, they'd be going mad, bloody barking and that. This little dog just sits there all quiet.
Who helps keep you calm after everything that you've been through.
Yeah.
So talk us through your story. What did happen to you?
Well, we took over my parents' post office in the year 2003 because they had some losses themselves before that. But we thought my mum was getting confused with the computer because she was not good at computers. So I got a computer science background. My wife and I just got married. So we thought we'd take over the house, the post office, and keep it open for the community. We had 2 armed robberies in 2003 and 2004. The post office tried to hold us liable for the 2.
See, that's the other thing as well. These post offices, they're always getting robbed, aren't they? You know, it's quite a dangerous job as well. You know, it's not the easiest job in the world. I would hate to run a bloody post office or anything like that. Fancy dealing with all those people. And you get really stroppy people sometimes as well. You know, it'd just be awful.
Losses, like on the drama on the 3rd episode. But on on the second robbery, on the 2004, after the post office did an audit and the police did an audit as well, the system generated the following day a minus £2,000 shortfall, which I thought was quite unusual. So in about 2 years later, I've been looking into it after that, and I found a problem in Horizon, and it generated losses, the bug on it. I told the post office about the bug and presented it to them, and they were not interested. And then I started to get a lot of problems, had losses generated in my office and errors, and come July I had a surprise audit and I had like a £13,000 shortfall. And they then were going to charge me with false accounting and theft. In August, I had like a breakdown when they were trying to interview me. They wanted to carry on, but my solicitor said you can't be interviewed in that state. Then come January, my solicitor said that if you proceed, we will present this document to the court, and that's what was left then.
And you obviously, it hit you very badly mentally, didn't it? You've had a really tough time.
Yeah, I suffered from anxiety, depression, and PTSD from like the armed robberies and stuff. And fast forward to 2010.
This poor guy, he's really been through it, hasn't he? I just want to say as well, just being like totally shallow, like I can be sometimes, I want the suit that she's got on. Let's have a look. Look, I want one of these suits, these pink suits. It's lovely. I want one now. So nice. They go with my nail varnish, my Sally Hansen nail varnish.
Fine.
Yeah, I suffer from anxiety, depression, and
Oh, so somebody was asking if this was a therapy dog. I don't think it's quite a therapy dog, but I think what the guy has said is, look at the little dog's face. That the dog helps him to stay calm when he's talking about, you know, what he's been through. So they must have let him bring the dog on for that reason. I mean, my dogs calm me down. Like last night when I was feeling like really awful, it's so nice. They do calm me down, but my dogs would not calm me down if I was out anywhere, because my dog now would be going mental trying to get sort of just run around. He's not aggressive or anything. They're not aggressive, I don't mean in that sense, but they'd be so excited that they're in a new place. They'd be jumping up all over a lovely pink suit as you begin. You know, they'd just be like, oh, you know, like, oh, this is good. And that little dog's just sat there all quiet. Why did none of my, I've never had a dog who's done that.
PTSD from like the armed robberies and stuff. And fast forward to 2010 when I started to hear about all the other postmasters, like Martin Griffin, who committed suicide. I started to blame myself from it. So I started to become suicidal, thinking that if I went to court with the error, that it might have stopped it. But fast forward to 2019, I don't believe that anymore because of the High Court. I think that
you were part of the group that went to the High Court, won your case, demonstrating that there was a problem with the system. And have things improved since then for you?
Mentally, yes. I don't blame myself for it anymore. And we as a group talk to each other and support each other. And I do think things are moving on, but it's not going in the right direction in certain circumstances.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that, because we had this big announcement yesterday from the government saying they're bringing in this emergency legislation which will exonerate everybody in a kind of blanket move. How do you feel about that? Do you welcome it?
On the over conviction part, I do welcome it. I think it's a unique situation, so I think it needs a unique solution. But the bit I'm wary about is the fact they want people to sign that innocent form, because that still will give the impression there's people who are guilty. So people might say, oh, is he actually guilty or is he innocent? And the horizon evidence is so unreliable. I would say everyone is innocent.
So you're uncomfortable about the fact they have to sign this this form in order to receive compensation?
Yeah, I don't have to do that because I'm in that.
You were part of the other group, weren't you? Because you went to the High Court. So that means that you have access to £75,000 compensation, is that right?
The £75,000 is, from what I gathered, is that you can have it, it's a full and final settlement, or if you think your claim is worth more, you can do a full assessment and might take a year or so, but you get then.
So how do you feel about that? Does that feel adequate to you?
I think that 75,000 should be more of an intimate payment. Reason is because most of the people in that GOL group that don't have the convictions are more complex cases now. They had they lost houses, they lost their business, have mental illnesses, not been working, etc. So it's going to be a lot more than £75,000.
Well, Mark Kelly, we really appreciate you coming in and giving your reaction to the developments this week, and for bringing Gizmo with you as well. And we wish you well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to look at another couple of victims now. Got to look at Slimy Sunak first.
Tonight, I'm joined in the studio by 3 victims of this scandal, one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in UK history, to find out what they make of the government's plans. Also coming up, a major development in a story that Sky News brought to light last year. The company behind the UK's best-selling baby formula says it is cutting its prices, with retailers expected to be convicted.
This is one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in our nation's history. People who worked hard to serve their communities had their lives and their reputations destroyed through absolutely no fault of their own. The victims must get justice and compensation. Sir Win Williams' inquiry is undertaking crucial work to expose what went wrong, and we've paid almost £150 million in compensation to over 2,500 victims. But today I can announce that we will introduce new primary legislation to make sure that those convicted as a result of the Horizon scandal are swiftly exonerated and compensated.
So let's look at the plans. Blanket legislation to exonerate sub-postmasters convicted in England and Wales is set to be introduced within weeks. Those whose convictions are quashed are eligible for £600,000 in compensation, or potentially more if they have their claim individually assessed. The Prime Minister also said upfront compensation of £75,000 will be awarded to the 555 postmasters who took their case to the High Court in 2019 as a group litigation. This evening, the Scottish First Minister wrote to Rishi Sunak indicating that similar measures are going to be brought forward in Scotland. Well, let's get straight to our panel here in the studio tonight. I'm joined by Balvinder Gill, former sub-postmaster in Oxford, who went bankrupt after he was accused of stealing more than £100,000. Vijay Parekh spent 6 months in prison after admitting theft, but had his conviction overturned in 2021. And Teju Adedeo was given a suspended sentence despite paying out more than £50,000 to make up a false discrepancy on her Horizon system. Good evening to you all, and thank you so much for coming in to speak to me here on the UK Tonight. I'm also going to introduce a professor who's going to talk to us about the legals of what we've heard today. Professor Graham Zellick, Emeritus Professor of Public Law and former Chairman of the Criminal Cases Review Commission. We'll be talking to Professor Graham Zellick in a few moments about the legal implications of what's been unveiled by the government today. Bal, I'm going to come to you first. When this started for you, you were just 23.
Yes.
And overnight, you were told that you had to repay a shortfall of £108,000. You had no indication until that figure was presented to you. Talk to me about what happened next.
Yeah, so it was just a traumatic day, which I think I'll never forget. It stains your memory at that age. I woke up and went that day with my wife to open the post office, and the auditors were waiting there. We went in and didn't know who they were, began to set the store up to open. Once they made themselves known, they kind of blocked us out from the office. I was interrogated under police caution in sort of a good cop, bad cop scenario. I was put really through my paces, and I was just trying to defend myself. I didn't have any legal support, but I was literally just trying to think on the spot of what I could say to try and avoid whatever they were trying to do to me. I was told at the time that was a shortfall of £68,000. The area manager contacted me and jokingly said, "I'll get your dad to pay it. He's got plenty of money." I was really treated very badly. I was never allowed back to the office or to get information which I could use to defend myself. I used to have a computer in the back of the office where I kept all my records accurately on spreadsheets because, I mean, I was an IT guy. I came from a maths and computer science background. I liked to think I was a pretty professional person.
But so that day, had you known there were problems? Did you know something was up with the software?
It was never right. I'd reported problems previously. On a previous time, an investigator came and they said to me, it was just after Christmas, and I said, you know, these figures are not right. And they came and they said there's £100,000 surplus, as in money which is over, which hasn't been sort of allocated yet. And I remember the gentleman connecting his laptop to the Horizon system and then telling me, I've fixed all the problem for you. It's all gone away. Don't worry about it. It's been moved to a suspense account. It will all sort itself out. And then literally the week after, I was back to the same problems. And I remember asking them for more training and them saying, we've already used the budget for training. There's no more training. You should be able to get to grips. And at the same time, I had 2 post offices at the time. These issues were occurring significantly at one. Sorry, Sergio, I'm just getting a little bit worked up.
That's okay. Take your time.
Trying to stay calm. But yeah, and it was very, very difficult. That day, it created such a rift in my family. My dad was a very proud businessman. And he felt, and what he was told, his son had dishonoured him and done something fraudulent, and word spread through the community. I mean, I was ousted. Myself and my wife, we left the house. We were kicked out of the house, literally. We lived in rented accommodation, just moving around from a few months here and a few months there. we were really pursued so aggressively to repay that £108,000. We were
Do you see what I'm saying? You know, if you were going to embezzle, would you take £108,000 and think, you know, it just seems obvious to me that nobody's going to take £108,000 just like that and think they're going to get away with it. Just would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? So just like, oh yeah, just take that £108,000. Nobody will notice. Shh. You know, it just seems ludicrous to me. It seems obvious that there must have been some, because surely, and certainly a pattern of different people doing it, would not be so stupid to take over £100,000 and think that nobody would notice. And I really did feel for this guy, because I could imagine that he would be shunned. Could you imagine? You know, his father, you know, the Indian community, this is what I was talking about earlier, they'd be like mortified, you know, they would totally cut them off, you know, the thought that they had brought shame on their family, etc. So, you know, I really felt for him, what he'd gone through. And, you know, if he was only 23 when he took on them post offices, so it's 20 years ago, yet, you know, you can tell that he's been through it. I think he looks older than his years, to be honest.
temping jobs. We were literally, I mean, my wife pawned her wedding ring. I mean, I remember times when I didn't have enough petrol to get to work, and I would sort of be praying that I'd just have enough to get to payday. And one time my car broke down 5 miles from work, to literally put my hazards on and just walk to work and walk into an office and try and smile. And, you know, there's torment and there's so much depth to this in terms of the suffering. It's hard to share it sometimes. Just when I.
Well, I'm sure there's a few, I've done that. I'm sure there's a few of you who've done that, you know, when you're right on the edge. You have to go to work, because if you don't go to work, it's even worse, you know. So you have to go, you have to put a smile on your face. You know, for me, it'd be like if I'm doing Spanish classes or whatever, and, you know, sometimes you go down, you've got like 10 people waiting for you in class, and you've got all these things going on, and, you know, like you're not sure if your electric's going to be cut off, or, you know, what's going to happen, and you're having to put a smile on your face. I just really feel for him, for all of them, but he expresses it quite well, I think, how it is when you just really are on the complete edge, but you just have to carry on, because if you don't carry on, nobody else is going to carry on for you. So you just have to go through the motions, pretend everything's okay, when really inside everything is not okay.
Begin to share it, other things come into my mind, which some things I haven't even touched for a while. So, excuse me. Yeah.
We really appreciate you coming into the studio to talk to us tonight. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Vijay, this is a familiar tale that we've been hearing for a long time, but particularly in the last 2 weeks, since the ITV drama really brought this to the mass attention of the UK. Talk to me about your story. Where did your story start?
My story started when I decided to do a business due to my health reasons, which I had a back operation. So the branch which I applied for was going to be changed into a convenience store. So I said, no, I've lived in this area, why change it? Because then you'll have no post office in the area, and you've got pensioners, they don't need to go far. So applied for it and got the contract in 2006. Had discrepancies come up regularly.
Big amounts, small amounts?
Small amounts.
To worry about?
About £8,000, that's the largest one.
It's big enough.
Big enough. And explained its situation. They said, with the area manager, goes, you can pay it back from your remuneration.
We hear that a lot, money taken directly out of your wages to make up the shortfall.
Which was taken out. Then in going on fine, balancing fine, then 2009, they came to do the audit. They were there well before I even got there, before I even go into the where the office is. They said, we're the auditors, and they wouldn't let me back inside behind the counters.
What did they find? What did they say?
After they did the audit, they said they found approximately £78,000 missing.
Oh my God,
So
78,000.
How does that feel at that point? Because 100,000, 78,000, numbers you've not heard before, presented with you, as you said, about overnight. How does that feel? Your stomach must drop.
I mean, you've spent so much money, over £500,000 to try and invest in that business itself. Why would you take £78,000
exactly
to use? And so we had the...
So he's invested £500,000 in that business, and they're accusing him of stealing £78,000. And they haven't cottoned on yet that they're going to all these different places, all the, you know, all these different post offices. So not, you know, it wasn't just him or just the other guy or just the other fucking 50 people. And they haven't cottoned on yet that this is a pattern. This is a pattern that's happening, not, you know, more than normal. I mean, there will be definitely some people along the line, wherever there's money, there'll be some people along the line that probably embezzled some stuff, but surely those massive amounts of money, they would know that they would be found out. And if they'd already invested so much money anyway, why would they do it?
Investigators were called in. As the office was 3 floors, they took me upstairs without any lawyers or anyone sitting with me to ask questions, help me out. And that scenario of good cop, bad cop questions, as I don't know how I think they've been learning from the TV series sometimes, if you look at it. And then they just said, you are not allowed to set foot in the office. And they called in some company they have already set up to take over the post office within an hour.
Now, I'm going to fast forward it a little bit because it's an hour long, this whole video, and, you know, it's too long. But you're getting the idea anyway, aren't you? You're getting the idea. I'm just going to hear this lady's story. You know, it makes you wonder, because a lot of, anyway, never mind. Let's not go there with the, you know, I just wonder if they just ignored people sometimes. Let's have the lady's story.
You know, those conviction
quashed. I believe in that, because you don't want to go looking for a job or applying for.
Now, this lady, she had children, and when they told her she would be going to prison, she said, I can't go to prison, I've got children.
What's your view of it? You know, exoneration en masse, or everybody should have their day in court?
I feel that depending on what is going on, they should be able to have the option to have exoneration, if that is what they want, depending on their ages, or if they want their days in court.
What would you like?
What I would like is to see all of them exonerated. According to the lawyer, every single name read out and your sentences quashed. I believe in that, because you don't want to go looking for a job or applying for a visa somewhere and it's still there. Whereas when we had a quashing, we were able to look back and say, let me just check my credit paperwork. Yeah. And you know that it was actually quashed and it's no longer there.
But what about compensation? £75,000 immediately, you know, £600,000, individual cases assessed, maybe more. I mean, speaking to you three this evening, there is no way you can put a price on what you have been through.
I don't know if it was this lady, but another person that I was watching, and I might have put that down now, but they were sent to prison, and they had a tag, you know, like an anklet thing put on, an electronic tag. They were allowed out, and they were allowed out of well, I don't know if they ever actually went to prison, but they were put this tag on, so probably so they didn't have to go to prison, and they were pregnant. And then when their day came for them to have the baby, when they were taken to hospital to have the baby, they were terrified because they thought, because they were supposed to be on a curfew where they weren't allowed out at night. That was part of their sort of bail conditions, that they were allowed not to be in prison as long as they wore this electronic tag. They weren't allowed at night, you know, they had a curfew and everything. And then suddenly the baby was coming along, and so they were taken to hospital, and they were terrified that they were going to get arrested because they'd had to leave the house at during the time when they weren't supposed to be leaving the house according to their bail conditions. And when they had their baby, with this electronic tag was on them while they had their baby. You know, so they're just a couple of stories. I mean, you know, that's not, you know, there were, I think, let's see, was it 500 people they said? Let's have a look. How many? Hang on. 700 sub-postmasters were accused of wrongdoing. So we've just literally tonight listened to about 3 or 4 stories of what happened to people. 700 people accused. So it's just ridiculous, isn't it? And so 700 people accused, but they didn't see a pattern for ages. You know, they didn't see that it was the accounting system. I mean, is that common for 700 people to be embezzling? I mean, I don't know, maybe it is, but it took 700 people before they realised that there was something wrong with the computing system. Yeah, 700, that's what it says here. Between 1999 and 2015, more than, let's share it just so you can see. This was according to Time magazine. Yeah, the UK, oh God, it's going to come up with all these adverts, can't stand it. The UK Post Office scandal, everything you need to know. 700 sub-postmasters were accused of wrongdoing, according to Time magazine. Oh, now here on the BBC, it's saying more than 900 people. So it's a lot of people, isn't it? It's a lot of people. You can safely say it's a lot of people. As someone was saying on there, I think it was Exotic Doll. Yeah, it'd be nice if Rishi Sunak, he could just like get his wallet out really and pay them all off, couldn't he? You know, it's awful, awful. Let's have a look at that. How many postmasters? Yeah, over 900. It's saying there. How many postmasters? Bloody hell. 900 people. I'm surprised only 4 of them committed suicide, to be honest. So nobody wants to be a sub-postmaster, do they? Look, there's loads of opportunities at the moment. Oh my God, they're probably crying out for sub-postmasters. Well, I suppose post offices, they're not as common as they were. I think it was Mello was saying earlier, is what used to be a post office is now a Wetherspoons. Oh God. Oh, and we haven't even got, so of course the owner of Wetherspoons, he's going to be knighted. And then, of course, that was the other thing with this whole scandal, wasn't it? That the woman that was in charge of it all, overseeing it all, she was awarded a CBE. And let's have a look at her. Oh, I can't remember her name. And I'll find her though. You know, they're like, these honours. Well, you know, don't get me going on about that. It's just like, just, oh. Arrgh. So yeah, the former post office boss, she's handed back her CBE. Let's have a look at that.
Paula Venables has got the CBE.
Joking.
Services to the post office.
So this is the TV programme that they're showing here, but I presume they're going to show the real person.
Yes.
Not anymore. Thanks to the ITV drama, a slow burn.
There she is. She's the real one. So Paula Venables. So she was given a CBE. There she is, next to the post box. Oh my God. And she had to really be forced to give this CBE back. And she has handed it back voluntarily in the end, but it took ages. She should have had, well, she should never, you know what I think about honours, a load of bollocks, to be honest. But she has given it back.
Burning campaign has become a raging fire and pressurised the former post office boss to return her CBE. In a statement, Paula Venables said, "I'm aware of the calls from subpostmasters and others to return my CBE. I've listened and I confirm that I return my CBE with immediate effect. I'm truly sorry for the devastation caused to the subpostmasters and their families, whose lives were torn apart by being wrongly accused and wrongly prosecuted as a result of the Horizon system."
I was and remain deeply disturbed by what has come to light.
After seeing Paula Venables, who is also a Church of England priest, portrayed in the ITV drama, more than a million people have signed an online petition calling for...
Hold the phone. So she's also a Church of England priest. Oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh, there you go. Good old church. You can always rely on the church, can't you, to have respectable people. Oh my God. Do you know what? There's something wrong, isn't there? It's all wrong. Urgh.
for her to be stripped of the honour. The Prime Minister weighed in, supporting the idea, as did many sub-postmasters.
Delighted, in a way, that she's given it back. But now she's given it back, it stops the government taking it away from her.
Vijay Parekh, wrongly jailed for fraud, had to wait 11...
Oh, he was actually jailed. So this was the guy that was talking earlier. And he said that her giving it back has meant that the government can't take it away from her. And as Mello said before, you know, no applause necessary. I did not know she was a church. You know, it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, my God. Oh, good old church. Good old church.
7 years to be cleared.
I don't think she wanted to give it back, but with all this pressure of a million signatures, I think she did the best thing for her, not for us.
Minister to move second reading, Mr. Kevin Hollinrake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
3 weeks ago, this was the Commons' turnout to debate postmaster compensation. Last night, after the TV drama, a very different picture.
I think it would be sensible and reasonable for the former CEO to hand back an honour that was given for services to the post office.
One long-standing campaigner today said that wasn't enough.
Got a letter here. It's my fourth letter I've written to the Fortitude Committee to actually try and get them to withdraw this honour. Did she bow to the inevitable? I think she did this week. But what we need to know now is why she was given it in the first place in 2019.
What's your suspicion? Who nominated her?
Well, Number 10 today have said they welcome this. Well, they gave it to her in 2019. They also appointed her as a non-executive on the board of the Cabinet Office and appointed her to NHS Trust. And then now we learn that she was also in the running for being the Bishop of London.
The person who did get that job in 2018 was Sarah Mullally. But Paula Venables, it emerged.
So she was in the running for being the Bishop of London. though they gave her this award in 2019. So let's be aware. So it was right into when they were doing all these investigations and everything. And they still gave her the award because she's one of the boys, isn't she? When I say boys, you know, I don't just mean boys, I'm being gender fluid. She's one of the boys. She's one of the elite. She's one of them. So she got a CBE. She was in the running for the Bishop of London. You know, she's like, she's not one of the people. She's one of them. She's one of the elite. Oh my God, I didn't know this. I literally did not know this.
Today ran her close. If she'd been appointed, she would have been the Church of England's third-ranking cleric, a member of the House of Lords, and assisting at the King's coronation.
Ah, you know, going back to the King, you know, good old Charlie boy telling us all to live a simple life. Live a simple life unless you're me or the bishop or, you know, but everybody else has to live a simple life, except if you're a king or a bishop or any of those things, or a member of the House of Lords. But everyone else live a simple life.
The annulment of Paula Vennell's CBE must now be approved by the King. It isn't, as her statement suggested, with immediate effect. But the humiliation is.
Gary Gibbon reporting. Well, Fujitsu, the Japanese technology firm which manufactured the faulty Horizon software, will be quizzed by MPs next week about their role. The company is also facing growing calls to pay compensation to the.
Yeah, and wait till so Gillian Keegan, who's a Conservative minister, her husband was CEO for this firm at the time when it happened. There's another chumocracy thing. Honest God, they're pigs in a trough, absolute pigs in a trough, telling everybody else how they should manage, how they should live a simple life. Do this, do that, do the other, but don't do what I do, because that's only for the elite to do.
Affected postal staff. And Downing Street hinted this morning the scandal could affect its current and future government contracts. So how integral is Fujitsu's role in our public services? Simeon Brown has been finding out.
Whilst the Japanese IT supplier Fujitsu is proud of its work with our government is facing embarrassment over how its IT services have become beholden to a foreign multinational company involved in one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in British history. Despite the political backlash,
Great Britain,
Fujitsu is still considered a strategic supplier of the government that has received billions from taxpayers, even after the post office scandal. This is one recent contract.
There's now a way to warn you. It looks like this and sounds like this.
If the post office scandal is a political emergency, some may not be comforted with the company being contracted to deliver a new national emergency alert system for mobile phones at an estimated cost of up to £5 million. Fujitsu,
so do you remember that, the emergency alert system? Were you wondering why we had it? We had it because to give Fujitsu all this money, and some CEO who was the husband of a Conservative minister. It's all intertwined. It's all about sort of you know, handshakes and looking after the boys, and you know, just terrible. And then if you're on income support and you do a little job on the side, maybe get a 50 quid in your hand or whatever, you could go to prison for that. None of these ever go to prison, do they? No one's going to go to prison, are they?
major defense supplier, also has a recent contract with the Foreign Office to provide communications. The company is expected to be paid £184 million.
Let's be honest.
Since 2012, the public sector has awarded the company almost 200 contracts worth a staggering £6.8 billion. And let's not forget, the company still has a contract with Post Office where the Horizon system still runs. Why have governments been so unwilling
to deliver services themselves?
I think for many services, government just simply doesn't have the capacity. There's clearly an open question about whether the contracts that Fujitsu are delivering at the moment, or the contracts that they could bid for in the future, whether Fujitsu will be allowed to bid for those.
Does the government currently have the powers to stop and take away the contract that Fujitsu currently has?
Historically, government bodies have been reluctant to exclude suppliers for fear that they would be sued for those decisions.
But are the company's days under public contract numbered? The government is under pressure to ensure Fujitsu foots the bill for the lost livelihoods caused by their software.
It won't necessarily just be the taxpayer, you and I and my constituents in Central Devon, as you put it, that are on the hook for this money.
This is how Fujitsu emerged in the UK, when it purchased the British firm International Computers Limited, who first developed the Horizon software in the 1990s. The company rose as a strategic supplier as successive governments have increasingly deferred to the expertise of private companies in tech.
I've seen an awful lot of tech procurement in my time. And I would say that in general, the people doing the buying are infinitely less well informed than the people doing the selling. What the post office scandal shows us is partly that we are very obedient, compliant, almost infantilized, I think, in front of technology. But it's also, we have bought the narrative which says, well, people make mistakes, but technology doesn't.
This is the consequence of that blind deference. Although these postmasters managed to overturn their convictions, they remain out of pocket as Fujitsu posts UK profits and the country watches the dramatization.
Cheers. Hi, it's good to be here.
And you, welcome to Fujitsu.
Cheers.
The company say it has apologized for its role in the suffering of the postmasters, that the current inquiry is examining the events and it would be inappropriate to comment. But what many ask is just what consequences would the company finally face?
Simeon Brown reporting. So how much is this whole fiasco likely to cost you, us, the taxpayer? Our economics correspondent Helia Ebrahimi is here. Helia, crunch the numbers for us.
Well, Matt, we've been trying to unpick the staggering sums of money involved in this scandal. We've been working with government procurement analyst Tussell, who have identified £1 million contracts awarded to yet more lawyers, this time to advise the Department of Business itself on how to manage the crisis. I can tell you that firms Addleshaw, Goddard, Dentons, and Freeth, that's actually the firm that represented the postmasters in the 2019 trial, have been hired over the last 18 months, costing over £350,000 a month in total. Now, that all adds up to £6.5 million. And Matt, that is separate from the legal fees that are being accumulated by the Post Office itself. That's a whopping £146 million. And add on to that the cost of the inquiry itself, which is £50 million and counting.
Okay, that adds up to quite a lot. What about money for those most aggrieved in this, the postmasters and postmistresses? Compensation.
Right. Well, indeed. We've got 4 pots of money here, from the court case to postmasters who lost out in pay to compensation for those who were wrongly convicted. I have to stress this is money that's been earmarked. It hasn't actually yet all gone to victims. The money set aside by government has now climbed to £1.2 billion. So, Matt, that means altogether that amounts to £1.4 billion. Now, that kind of sum could easily pay for example, 46,000 new teachers. It's already been described as one of the most egregious miscarriages of justice in British history. It's very quickly becoming one of the most costly to taxpayers.
Helen, thanks very much. Let's go to Jackie in Leeds. Jackie.
Well, in Westminster now is the Labour.
Okay, so you can see the cost to the taxpayer, all those things that we've learned about that stupid woman being head of the church, being a vicar, and oh my God. Anyway, so let's just have a look now. Last thing I promise, because this has ended up going on and on. It never stops, does it? So this is what I want to talk about now, because this I think is key. Education Secretary Gillian Keegan's husband Michael is dragged into the post office scandal as Labour says the inquiry should consider his role as the head of the Horizon IT supplier Fujitsu. So they're saying he's the husband of a serving cabinet minister. Did he play a role in this miscarriage of justice? Because his wife is the education secretary. She's been, in and out of the cabinet for years during this government. And he was formerly the UK chief executive and chairman of Fujitsu, whose Horizon IT system was at the heart of the baseless prosecutions of subpostmasters over 2 decades. I just cannot believe that it's gone on for 2 decades. How has it taken that long? And this guy, the 61-year-old, went on to become a Crown representative of the Cabinet Office. A Crown representative. In other words, he's not elected, he's just the husband of one of the other cabinet ministers. Working in the Ministry of Defence with Big Ben Wallace. He denies any wrongdoing at Fujitsu because he was CEO for little more than a year in 2014 and 15 before the legal case by the subpostmasters. But all these questions, see, here he is with Slimy Sunak. We've got Gillian Keegan, the education secretary, her husband, chair. No, they're multi-millionaires, just creaming money from the UK and then looking down on everybody else. Has anybody noticed that Rishi Sunak has got massive feet? Like, he's such a tiny little man, isn't he? Little slimy man, but he's got these massive feet. But anyway, so you know what I think of this government anyway. So I think they're horrible. They're the worst government we've ever had. They've even made me look more fondly on Thatcher, and that's saying something. So yeah. There you go. That's the story of the post office scandal. I hope you found it interesting. I hope, like me, you know a little bit more about it now than you did before. I didn't know a lot about it. And I think it's good to, it's good to sort of find out about these things. Just think of those people, their lives literally have been blighted. Do you imagine 20 years out of your life? You're not just talking about a couple of years, not even just 5 years, not even just 10 years. You're talking about 20 years, prosecutions, prison, shame, shadows cast over your good name, suicides, resulting in suicides for some people, family problems, your family not speaking to you because they think that, because the people will be thinking, well, are they guilty? Are they guilty? Terrible. Yeah. He Mello, I think, maybe he puts those big shoes on, but he just pads them out with socks, probably. Anyway, so let's hope that they get the resolution. But even if they get the resolution tomorrow, it's still 20 years too late, isn't it? So I hope they do something about it. Oh, thank you, Desi. Thank you. So yes, look, people are doing before I've even said my final words, like people are saying them for me. It's sweet, actually. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? So remember to live and love wisely and carefully. I wouldn't bother applying for a sub post office if I were you. I think, maybe put that on the back burner. Think of some other sort of enterprise. Definitely would not advise anyone to become. I wouldn't do anything with the government. It's just, well, certainly not this government. Anyway, you couldn't trust them, could you, with anything? They'd just sell you down the river as soon as they get a chance to. So I wouldn't have anything to do with this government. But anyway, we've got an election coming this year. I can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to covering that. Anyway, so yeah, live and love carefully, wisely. Don't take out a sub post office. I'll see you really soon in the next video, which will be Sunday. I don't think there'll be a video tomorrow. And yeah, keep well, keep look after you. Remember, pamper yourself. Pamper yourself. You need a bit of pampering. We all need a bit of pampering sometimes. Have a massage, have a pedicure, have a manicure. Just look at, just do something for you, because you are really the most important person, because if you don't look after you, you can't look after anybody else. Until I see you again, may your God go with you. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Night, night. Bye.